The Transport Department now says it'll finally launch the much-needed relief fund for the country's minibus taxi industry next week. It was meant to do so this week, but couldn't due to logistical issues. For the National Taxi Alliance, this has been a very long wait. The government's agreed to fork out more than 1 billion rand to help struggling drivers. But the alliance says it had to go to court to speed up the process and remove unnecessary red tape. eNCA spokesperson Theo Malele is live with us now. Theo, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. The government says the launch will finally happen next week. Are you happy with that?
Well, there isn't much one can be grumpy about, except to finally then say, thanks God Almighty, it's finally going to happen. Even though we had anticipated that we were going to, get all that by, last Tuesday, after we were invited on Monday, just before the presser.
Why do you think it's taken so long for the funds to be released, Theo?
Certainly there has been red tape attached to these funds. We were requested to actually register companies and then also register these vehicles in the name of those companies within a period of 5 months, which to us was, disingenuous, given that most of these vehicles are still being owed, and you need to change the National Credit Act for you to be able to can remove the vehicle from the financier into your company, and you would also need to let the National Transport Act, give proviso for us to become, those entities. And, to change those pieces of legislation would take no less than 2 years. So it was practically impossible that when we were asking for the relief after suffering so much, we were told that we had to prerequisites were actually changed. So to us that meant that the goalposts were shifted quite a number of times, which is what necessitated us to take this matter to court. For the government to expedite its processes of giving the taxi industry the so much needed relief after it had suffered so much losses.
When the relief fund is finally launched, how much will each operator be given, and will that be enough?
Well, obviously it would not be enough. And then secondly, we're not so sure about the data of the taxi industry as per the records of government. But safe to say that the National Taxi Alliance has a comprehensive data that it can actually rely on for its members. But then we cannot close out members of the taxi industry who are not members of the National Taxi Alliance. So this then means we need to use just a thumbsuck or hypothetical figures to say, given what the record says, that there are 250,000 taxis in the country, you would divide that by the 1.135 billion, and that would equate to about 5,100 rand. But there may be a challenge in that most of the older vehicles would not necessarily have operating licenses because they are not compliant to the taxi recapitalization program. So therefore, they would be actually closed out of the network. But those that would be within the net may also have to share their spoils with multinational companies, your Ubers and your Bolt. But yeah, the amount of money at the end of the day does not necessarily represent the actual losses that the industry had incurred, throughout all the stringent lockdown measures.
What did those losses look like, Theo? And to compensate with the fuel price going up, etc., will you be hiking taxi fares again? No. Those losses would not be the 5,000 as we are going to be compensated with that for as a relief fund. They range, between 50,000 plus, And then secondly, on the issue of fuel increases, we would like to urge government to expedite the
scrutinization of the levies attached onto the fuel price, because almost 10 rands of what we are currently paying goes directly to all those levies and taxes that are attached to the fuel price, and that's making our lives unbearable. So we wouldn't want to exert more pressure on the commuting masses who already are spending more than 10% of their disposable income as a result of the non-subsidization of their mode of transport, which is the only black-owned and controlled business that is actually being neglected by government. So the question of increasing fares, it will be in the cards, but I cannot speculate as how much that would be. But what we would do as leadership is to guide our associations not to actually exorbitantly increase the fares. But I think it's about time that the government came to the party so that we begin to earnestly engage more robustly around this issue of this variable input onto our business.
Yeah, we will be having a conversation about the structure of that petrol price a little bit later. Theo, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. National Taxi Alliance spokesperson Theo Malele joining us on NewsLink.